So what's new over at High Voltage Diesel? Well, we got the old 69 International loaded up with firewood right to the moon, awaiting its delivery day. Supposed to deliver it 3 days ago, and then the guy's like, oh well, I want to wait a couple days. Well, you know, that's just what it's like when you're in business, I guess. You hold your hand on your ass waiting for everybody else to make decisions and revolve around the rest of the world. So there she sits until tomorrow, and hopefully I can get this load off so I can start doing other things with it. Tell you, you really get spoiled hauling firewood. I had that thing loaded right up with green firewood. These springs aren't even working yet. I put crusher run in here. You can't even see it, and those springs are just about flat. Love hauling firewood, man. Just enough weight to make it handle good and easy. Don't burn a lot of fuel at all hauling firewood. Alright, well, I already know this is the reason you guys are stopping in, so let's get right to it here. So this is... So I just got to remember where I left off in the old video. Pretty much, you guys didn't miss much. So I'm hooking up the wiring right now, trying to finalize everything. I got the brake lights all hooked up, but the issue is I don't have any brake lights. But I do have brake lights when I hot wire them to the directly to the switch. So something's going on with the air system, needless to say. Somehow air is not getting to the switch. Well, what I think it is, what I'm pretty sure it is I eliminated the trailer brake air system on this truck. Number one, because all the hoses were completely junk and I didn't want to pay to put new hoses, because there's like, it's a Peterbilt, come on, so there's like 800 hoses that go to just a simple trailer brake valve. So I eliminated all that. That was all mounted back here just for now. You know, I can always hook it up in the future. And there's a whole bunch of lines that came from the treadle valve and went up to the manifold up there where the brake light switch is. And I've noticed ever since I took all that off, I actually have a brake application gauge on this truck, which is like high tech for what I'm used to. My 379 had that, but all the other old trucks I've had didn't, so that's actually pretty high tech for me. And I noticed that doesn't work too, so that pretty much tells me that air is not getting... I gotta open the hood, but you can see back way in there. You can get to it from the other side. But those are the pressure switches for the brake lights, so air is not getting to them switches for whatever reason, and I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the trailer brake system I unhooked. All the other parts on the brakes work fine. Front and rear brakes work when you push the treadle valve. Park and brake releases and applies. So I know it's something pretty simple, it's just a matter of getting to it. This is a 13 speed, so there's 4 air lines here. I broke the fitting off of one. Well, actually, I didn't break it, came pre-broke. I just found it. So I replaced that, and go figure, I aired it up yesterday with the air compressor. Don't worry, you use the air compressor. You guys didn't miss a start. And now I got another line leaking. You know, I should have just replaced all 4 lines, so that's what I'm gonna do. And basically the only other wiring I gotta do is hook up the headlights. Taillights are hooked up, everything's hooked up in the back. Just the brake, the brake switch has something to do with the plumbing, not the electrical. I just got to hook up the headlights, and these lights I'm not going to worry about right now. I'm just going to tie those up there somewhere. I'm going to hook them up at a later date. I'm just trying to get this thing movable. Yeah, there's the pressure switches for the brake right there. The one up there is for the low air. I believe these 3 are for the brake, but I'm not getting continuity on any one of them. So the next thing is I'm going to pull them out one by one, have someone hit the brake pedal, and see if I get air. That'll tell me if the switch is good or bad. It might just be a bad switch, but I actually took all these switches out, tested them with the air compressor with the blowgun, and they worked. So I find it hard to believe that they don't work now, but you never know, so I'm going to test those first. The only other major issue we have here, which isn't a major issue, it's just something I got to fix, is this throttle bar here, whatever you want to call it. It goes from the pump here. Well, on an A model, the injection pump sits back a lot further than a B model. B model sits up front more, and the air compressor is up higher. So this has to get lengthened, which should be an easy task. However, this is 5/16 rod, but it's fine thread. So it's really hard to find all thread rod, fine thread. So I'm gonna have to figure out something there, get new ends or drill and tap these or something. I'm not sure yet, but that's really the only other thing that's holding me back on this. Got all the other wiring all hooked up, the starter. Everything's run into the battery box where it's supposed to be. I'm gonna tidy up everything when I know everything works. I'll neaten all this stuff up, but basically just want to start it up, make sure all the lights, make sure everything works, and then I'll button everything up. Had to get a new hose made for the power steering because that leaked. So now we're keeping our power steering fluid in the power steering reservoir where it's supposed to be. Power steering does work. After I switched the pump over, you'll see that on the last video I made of this little plate right here you switch over. All right, day later, and got some more progress here. Got all brand new airlines for the 13-speed trans Michelin, and check this out. Finally got the throttle linkage hooked up. Oh yeah, you can hear the Jake switch clicking. That click is actually the most important thing of this whole truck. Oh yeah. All the lights work except for the front lights. So this was originally the wire for the trailer lights. And I figured, well, you know what? It looks pretty good. I'll use this and run it for the headlights and the everything on the hood. So I got this was all done months ago. That's all hooked up to the turn signal, everything. Headlights, high beams, low beams, running lights. And I went to hook them up yesterday, and I'm doing a test on these wires right here. And I get voltage for a few of them, which is correct. The brown was the running lights. Red was high beams, yellow or green is low beams, black is ground, but I couldn't seem to find the turn signals. And well, after about 2 hours of figuring out what's going on, I took the dash all apart again and felt around wires like this. Of course, the dash is back together, otherwise I'd show you guys. I was doing this to the wires because I'm like, there's no way it can't work. And all of a sudden I feel a little crunchiness here, and oh, there's crunchiness there. And then I go like that, it feels like there's like broken glass in there. I'm like, well, that ain't good. So I actually took the two wires like this and actually pulled them apart, and nothing but white powder came out. So looks like the wires were in there having a little bit of a partied a little too hard. And well, needless to say, now I have to replace this entire thing, rewire the other end, all back up in the switches again. But you know what? For now, we're just gonna pigtail this thing somewhere, pick these wires up, hook them up, and I don't want to wait any longer. I want to take this thing up the road. So I got all the air cleaners, pulled them out, vacuumed in there. There's mouse shit and who knows what in there. Vacuumed, blew all that stuff out, put all the air ducting back in. Got the new hose for the power steering pump, so that ain't leaking anymore. I just pulled the batteries out of the International. One got a little drunk and fell over. So I'm gonna throw the International batteries in this thing. I mean, like, all the wiring is done except for the headlights. I got the connectors. So these two massive ones, these go directly to the starter. Of course, we're backwards here. This is gonna bite me in the ass someday, but I'm gonna change this. The red is ground and the black is positive. Same thing with this one. So these two, this is hot and ground. These two right here go directly into the fuse block and feed everything else. The lights, the solenoids, everything else. The only thing these do is go right directly to the starter. Everything else goes off of these. I did it like this because probably in the very near future, I like to do this on all the trucks that I redo and all the vehicles, is I like to put like a 50 amp turn off on this, so that'll go to that. It just makes things so much simpler rather than coming off of the starter with 5,000 wires. You just two big wires off of the batteries, go up to the fuse block, and there you have it. You're done. There's no messing around. I don't know about you, but the last thing I feel like doing is going down in there in that starter that you could barely get to and hooking up 300 wires. I would rather hook up the wires in the battery box, where it is much easier to get to. Then if you ever have to change the starter, it just makes life so much easier. Alright, two batteries all hooked up, so we should hear some clicks. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, looks like everything's gonna work right out. Alright. The only other thing I gotta do is get some radiation and put it in the radiator. Make sure we're topped off there again. And I think we're ready to fire it up. Any diesel with wet liners sits for a long time. It's always good to check the oil pretty frequently. Right up to the full line. Probably can't see it because it's clean, but I mean, any engine you should check the oil frequently, but especially stuff with wet liners that's been sitting for a long time. O-rings dry out, leak water down into the base, contaminate the oil. Now you got some really big problems. Alright, we're filled right up to the top with radiation. Alright, we're ready to start. Make sure nothing important is going to get ruined. Get this thing out of the way. There we go. I got a half-ass exhaust system set up on this, just pointing out here. Originally they had something here with that big stack right there, or muffler, behind the cab, which that's all got to go, and that actually had 4 separate holes drilled in the frame rail for the bracket. With the new frame rail, I didn't want to drill the holes because that's not how it's going to be. The stacks are going to go on the cab like they're supposed to, so I don't have any stacks or any mounts or anything like that yet, so that's just the way we're going to have to roll for now. But I had to do something because it was just blowing black smoke all over the side of the motor, and just you'd rev it up and the whole entire cab would just get filled up. So did something a little different, but we should be ready to start now. Well, just went to start her up and the starter solenoid blew a 20 amp fuse like it wasn't even there. So shit, I'm gonna have to figure out something for this. I don't know if I have any bigger fuses. We'll be right back. Alright, really weird. I just put another 20 amp fuse in there and now it cranks right over. It almost started. I should have let it start, but I didn't have you guys on the tripod, so didn't want to leave you out. All right, let's try this again. I think I'm gonna have to put another smaller solenoid in there to run the bigger solenoid, but I just want to get it running for today. I think I'm just nervous because it's the first time this thing was running. I don't know if you could hear it in the camera, but man, it almost sounds like something. It's got a knock. You know, it's a cat. Cats are noisy and they'll fool you, but that almost sounds unnatural. I didn't see anything when I cut the oil filter open. It was perfectly clean. It just sounds unnatural. Not really sure what to think about that. Alright, let's put our floor in. I am a little bit on edge about that noise because that knock just doesn't sound natural. Kind of sounds like there's something wrong with that knock. I'm not really sure what to think here. Of course, I just replaced all these lines and something's leaking in here now. There's really been nothing on this truck that's been necessarily easy. But should be all right to drive it. I think I'm just gonna put this stool or a chair or something in here. I ain't gonna put the actual seat in. But I want to be safe too. I don't want to do something stupid and hit somebody. I'm gonna find something else other than this stool. I don't like this. I don't want to bolt the chair in yet because I'm not ready. I got to take all this stuff back out to finish everything. If it passed the test, get all this crap cleaned out of here. All right. out and make sure we're not going to lose anything here. Wheels or anything are going to fall off. It looked like we're good. That knock that I heard is gone. I don't hear that anymore. You know, I gotta say, this chair actually don't feel too bad. pressure, good air pressure. About 150 degrees or so. Everything seems to work. Boy, it's getting hot in here, I'll tell you what. We definitely have heat. Look at that. Everything seems to work pretty good. Jake brake almost sounds a little weird, almost like a cylinder isn't going. Not really sure. Might have to check some more stuff out. We're still at just over 14 volts, so the alternator's working. Rear ends aren't red hot, that's good. Thing's still cold as could be. Oh yeah. Hey, we're in good shape here, guys. Power steering pump seems like it's excessively warm. I mean, you could still touch it, but it's barely. It seems like it's a little warmer than it should be. Everything else seems pretty normal though. Nothing else seems like it's excessively hot. I mean, the motor's warm. You look pretty good though. Well, we made it back in one piece. Everything looks pretty darn good. Got a couple small oil leaks. There's oil leak under the injection pump that's dribbling out just a little bit. Not really sure what that is. A lot of times shit like that is just simply a loose bolt. Wow, Amazon driver just pulled up and had the music freaking cranking, man. Anyway, yeah, we made it back and no fires. Nothing blew up. We drove this thing about, I don't know, 2 miles I think it is around the block. I will say, I don't know if you noticed in the camera, but this is probably one of the scariest vehicles I've driven. Well, I mean, not really, but this tie rod end, I mean, I need my ass kicked just for driving it around the block. This guy told me he was driving this truck on the thruway every day. Every day till it broke, till it blew a rod through the starter. And this is the first time I've ever driven this truck. ever driven this truck. This is literally the first time I've my first mile behind it. And I had all I could do to keep this truck in its lane. I don't know if you picked up on that when that other Peterbilt passed me there on the main road, but I had all I could do to keep this thing in its lane. So the fact that this guy was running this on the thruway every single day, the thruway, those of you that are out of state and different, you know, that's just an interstate basically around here. So running it on the interstate every day like that, going 70 miles an hour, and this truck will definitely do it. That's the reason we have such strict DOT laws, and the DOT guys are assholes and all that crap, because, you know, this is ridiculous. That is way overdue getting changed. And I can assure you that this truck ain't gonna leave this driveway again, now that I know how bad that is, because I don't want to put my safety or anybody else's safety in jeopardy until that tie rod end is changed out with a new one. I'm actually, as soon as this video is over, I'm gonna call my local truck parts store and order one. I don't know how hard it's gonna be to order one for a $359. I might have to take it off and go down there, but come on, man. And yes, in case you're wondering, this truck is fully registered and insured. That got registered and insured the day I got it. I transferred everything right over from the needle nose Pete to this one, and it's been registered and on the road ever since, through this whole process. So we are all legal beagle here. This tie rod is good, but depending on how much they are, I might just get both, be done with it. And if they're good, they're good, but that one is really bad. Yeah, other than that, we got a few things to fix. Obviously I need a seat, because that's not gonna cut it. Just like I said, I got to take this floor and all this stuff back apart anyway to tidy up stuff, now that I know it's not a complete loss. That knocking noise I heard stop too. I don't get it. Probably just, that's the first time this motor's actually been driven other than starting it up and idling, and I think over 20 years too. So maybe it just need to be driven a little bit. And it actually just going a couple miles with it, it sounds way better. The jakes seem to work pretty good and slows you right down. This has got some pretty steep gears in it. I don't know what they are, but probably at least 411s or 390s or even 350s, I'd say. But she's got some pretty steep gears in the back, plus 24 5s. With the 24 5s and an overdrive 13 speed, you really can get up there and boogie with these things. Alright guys, well, I think we're gonna call it good for this one. I told you in the last video that the next video you see, we'd be driving this thing, and that's as far as we got. I still have a ton of work to do on it, and that'll all be part of the next video, and hopefully the next video will be possibly going on a little bit of a road trip with it. Not too far, but a little further than just around the block. Got a lot of little stuff to fix, like the tire rod end, got to get batteries, got to get a couple new hoses for it, got to get something going on with the tire over there. I got to get that fixed, and just a lot of other little things, the headlights, and got to put the rest of the plates and all that stuff on it, get it all legal to go on the road. And we'll take her on a little road trip hopefully on the next video, and just keep on keeping on. Well, thanks for tuning in to High Voltage Diesel, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the first actual trip of this truck, and we will see you guys in the next video.